Take 3. Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to our community. I'm Andy Thornton, President and CEO of the Greater Peoria Family YMCA, and we are coming to you today from the I've Decided Studios in Peoria, Illinois. The Our Community podcast is sponsored by the Greater Peoria Family YMCA and I've Decided. Are you responsible for implementing change, promoting a new approach, generating enthusiasm for a given course of action, solving a problem, or seizing an opportunity? You can't be a great leader who motivates and inspires others without a clear understanding of how to be convincing and having conviction. Without a commitment to strengthen these skills, it will be a challenge to capture the hearts and minds of others. It is essential to effective leadership. On today's show, we're going to dig into the power of being able to influence and convince others of your vision. And spoiler alert, it starts with you. Hi, Lindsey.
Hi, Andy.
It's great to have you here with me today.
Thanks.
So joining me today is Lindsey Kerr. Lindsey Kerr is the Executive Director of Lifeline Pilots, which is a wonderful organization. I'm going to give Lindsey an opportunity now to tell us all about Lifeline Pilots and the great work that you do.
Well, thanks. Lifeline Pilots, we're a nonprofit based in the Peoria community, but we actually serve 10 states in the Midwest. Our mission is to provide free air transportation for people who need to travel a long distance for medical care, humanitarian needs. And we do that using volunteer pilots. So we have about 350 volunteers that are located throughout our 10-state region. Mm-hmm. And so let's say that your mother has cancer and is not able to be treated locally.
Right.
And she has been told by her doctors that there's a clinical trial at MD Anderson in Houston, Texas, but she can't afford to get there.
Right.
She has no way, there's no other option. You know, when you need help with transportation locally, there's often buses and taxis, and there's different programs that provide that transportation.
Right.
But when it's a far away trip that you need to make, you know, there's not a lot of choices. So people call us and we provide them with free flights. There's never a cost. We don't go through insurance. It's just free.
Completely underwritten.
Donated. It's donated. That's exactly what it is. And there's no limit to the number of times someone can fly with us.
That's crazy.
And the way that it's free is that our pilots donate the cost of every flight. Yeah. So last year, our pilots donated over $2 million in free flights.
And how many flights was that?
That was 928 flights.
Wow. That's amazing. So roughly 100 flights, $2 million. That's, you know, I'm not going to try to do the math here.
Roughly 1,000 flights.
1,000 flights.
Yeah.
And $2 million.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And you think about, because I was wondering in your scenario that you were paying, your mother has cancer, you got to go to Houston. What's that cost just to travel that one person that distance? That's got to be pretty significant.
It is, yeah. It's a really big donation that those pilots are making. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, our pilots love to fly, and they're going to fly no matter what. Right. And so we're giving them the best reason in the world to fly, that they can help somebody in their time of need doing something they love. So what we say is we take pilots who want to fly and we pair them with the passenger who is in need of travel. And we put them together, and we're that conduit that links one to the other. That's pretty cool.
It's really cool, actually, when you think about it, the amount of impact that provides for people to get the proper care at an affordable cost, because it's expensive, right? When they get there and the treatment they have to go through, and hopefully they have good insurance for that, to be able to remove the burden of the transportation, though. That's pretty. So is there one story that stands out to you that you can just share fairly quickly that of an impact story?
It's so hard.
I bet there's probably lots of them.
So we have this young boy, Jackson, who about a year ago, his dad is an airplane mechanic. So he knew about Lifeline Pilots, and they live in Decatur, Illinois.
Okay.
They contacted us, and Jackson had a brain tumor that needed proton radiation treatment. And at the time, the Peoria Hospital wasn't open yet.
Right.
And so he needed to go to Chicago every day for 7 weeks.
Wow.
5 days a week.
Wow. 35 trips.
Yeah. And his dad called us and he said, is there any way you can help? And we had never done anything like this before. I mean, we say we can fly you as many times as you need, but it's usually maybe once a month, once every couple
Right.
weeks, but every single day. And we're
Yeah.
like, well, we're not sure if our pilots will be able to do this, but we're willing to try.
Yeah.
And he said, well, even if you can cover part of with flights,
Mhm.
then what it enabled Jackson to do was to go to school all day. Then we'd fly him in the afternoon up to Chicago. He'd be 20 minutes from the airport to the facility where he needed to have treatment.
Wow.
He'd have that radiation treatment, which took less than an hour. He'd be back at the airport. We'd be flying him home. He'd be home in time for dinner with his family.
Unreal.
And it allowed him to still be a normal kid. You know, It gives me goosebumps telling you the story because
That's
it's
huge.
just such impact. And we were able to fly him for 7 weeks, and he is living a normal life. The only repercussion from all of that radiation treatment was he lost his hair thinned a little bit at the spot where it went in. But other than that, he was able to remain a normal kid in school.
Wow. 35 trips to Chicago from Danville?
Decatur.
Or from Decatur?
Yep.
Okay.
So it was about $155,000 worth of donated flights.
How many different pilots participated in that gift?
I believe we had over 20 pilots that
kidding.
flew him. And we had every week they'd call us with their days and times of when they needed to be there. And our pilots would be so quick. They'd be like, let me know first. I want first dibs on Jackson.
Okay.
And the great thing is that Jackson wants to have a career in aviation when he grows up.
How about that?
And he was 12 when we were flying him last year. And it's just such an honor to be able to help his family.
That's an amazing story. It really is. And just one small example of the lives that you're changing through the work that you do. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And to the amazing group of volunteers that you got that are supporting that. I mean, that's a big deal. It really is a big deal. I don't think not enough people know about this.
That's exactly right.
I'm sure you wrestle with that every day, right?
Yep. Every time I talk to people, I say that our biggest obstacle is that people just don't know we exist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're this small organization, but we have a huge impact, and we're so unique.
Yeah.
You know, not very many people are out there doing what we do and can provide just that amazing gift of transportation to healthcare.
And so your office covers 10 states, right?
Yep.
You manage this operation over a 10 state geographical area, which is mostly Midwest, right?
It is, yeah. We cover 10 states in the Midwest, from Tennessee north to the Canadian border, and from Iowa to Ohio.
Wow, that's huge. That is really huge. I'd never heard of Lifeline Pilots until you left me at the Y and you went to work for Lifeline Pilots, which was a sad day. Almost 5 years ago, we were talking offline, which is amazing, but so happy for you and to see the success that you've achieved there. You certainly made a great decision to go there. And I know that you've created through your leadership some pretty significant success for that organization. So talk a little bit about how much you've grown over those 5 years.
You know, it's been quite the journey. When I started at Lifeline Pilots, prior to that, I'd been working for you at the Y. And
with me at the Y, right?
But thankfully, Andy has continued to be an amazing mentor. And there are times that I know I've sent him texts or called on you for advice. And that's how I've grown. You know, I've called on leaders in the community like Kim at I've Decided and Andy at the Y to really help me to grow as a leader and to understand how to run an organization that people rely on. It's not always easy. You know, there's tough decisions to make when you're the one leading the organization.
For sure.
But at the end of the day, you know, my philosophy and what I've tried to tell my staff and our volunteers and our board of directors is that it's not about me and it's not about you. It's about the mission.
That's right.
And how do we deliver best on the mission to help the people that are
in need of our help. You got to remove self, right? And that's the best way to lead, I think.
We have to take our ego out of it.
Yeah, good job.
Which is hard to do.
It is extremely hard to do, but that's where we find the biggest success. I completely agree with you there. I know we're aligned in that understanding. That's really cool. I learned something today. I did. I learned something today. I never heard of Lifeline Pilots till you went there, and I still can't wrap my head around the volume of impact that you guys create. So kudos to you. And
thank you.
That Jackson story is huge. I hope you're sharing that in a lot of places.
We do. We share that a lot. But like I said, there's so many stories. Jackson is only one of thousands of lives that we have the privilege of touching every year.
Okay, I know we got something we got to talk about here, but I don't want to derail this too much. I'm going to go a little deeper. Lifeline Pilots, is it one of a kind? Are there similar organizations like it across the country?
That's a great question. We are not one of a kind. We have sister organizations throughout the country. So in my example of me saying, if your mom had cancer and she needed to get to MD Anderson, Texas is not one of our states.
Gotcha.
It's south of Tennessee, right?
Yep.
So in order to get somebody to MD Anderson in Houston, we would have to partner with our sister organization in the southern United States. And we have sister organizations throughout the country.
So you kind of meet them halfway type of deal?
We do,
That's what my parents used to do when we were kids, and I'd go to my cousin's house. They'd like meet in Banner. Drop me off in Banner, and then I'd go to Canada. It's kind of the same thing. You're handing them off to another group of people.
We talk about it like a relay race.
Yeah.
So pilot, if someone's going 800 or 900 miles, one pilot in a small airplane, because these pilots are flying their own planes. I'm not sure if I said that in the beginning.
And paying for their own fuel.
Paying for their own fuel. These are small 4 to 6 seater aircraft. Have you ever flown in one of those?
I have not. I'm not sure I could fit in one.
Yeah, you're pretty tall. It would be
I would
tricky.
try it.
So to fly in one of these, you're only going to go about 200 or 300 miles before the pilot needs to stop and refuel.
Right.
And there's no bathrooms on board.
True.
Let's face it, after 2 or 3 hours, you might need to stop.
Yep.
So if we're going 800 or 900 miles, pilot number 1 flies, they meet pilot number 2 at a predetermined airport. They fly, meet pilot number 3, who then takes them to their destination.
Wow.
Well, for that third leg, we're going to need help from our sister organization because we don't have pilots in the southern United States. So we have great relationships with other organizations, and it's vice versa. If they have somebody who needs to get to Mayo Clinic in Minnesota.
Gotcha. So you have like reciprocal agreements.
We do.
That you guys work with.
Yeah, and we're all we're all independent organizations, but we have an organization called the Air Care Alliance that we all are members of, and they support all charitable aviation.
Okay. Do you get support from federal government, state government, anything?
We don't.
No
None of our organizations get any sort of government funding.
It's all charitably funded?
Yeah, we do a lot of grant writing, and we are growing our private donors quite a bit, and we get a lot of great support. Our pilots are by far our biggest donors, giving those free flights. But every dollar that we raise for operations is through grants and private donations.
Okay, that's awesome. Amazing. I'm so glad that you're here today and you shared a little bit about that. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are going to be listening to this who might be able to help. And now they learned a little bit more, and that's a great thing. So thank you for sharing that. But we got a job to do here, Lindsey Kerr.
Let's do it.
And we're going to dig into this conversation of being convincing, right? And we talked about it a little bit in the opening thought there at the beginning of the show. Kim wrote a great article about conviction and how to be convincing, and I teased it a little bit. It's up to us, really. It's up to us to be convincing. What are we doing to make sure that we're sharing the message, kind of like you just did right now, right? Is share the message of Lifeline Pilots. Let's talk a little bit about that. And, it starts with ourself, right? And making sure, I guess, we're developing our own personal self-belief. Because if we don't believe in ourselves, who the heck is going to believe in us or what it is that we're doing? So let's talk a little bit about that. And I'm interested to hear from your perspective, what you do or what you think about or strategies that you employ in your own life to strengthen your own self-belief.
I think it really starts with surrounding yourself with other people that believe in you. That's a big part of impacting that self-belief that you have in yourself. Sure. Because if you have people around you that are just constantly putting you down, it's going to be impossible to have self-belief. Here in Peoria, I belong to a group called Women in Leadership, and that has been instrumental in my self-belief because it is those women who constantly are cheering me on and making me feel like what I do matters and encouraging me, and also building on my leadership skills.
Right. So you have a circle of influence, right?
Yeah,
or a circle of mentors, and those folks are
exactly
pouring
it.
into you, and you're pouring back into them and encouraging each other.
Yeah.
Right? And women in leadership, let's not forget that at the end. I know you guys have an event coming up. Let's make sure you're giving an opportunity to plug that, but we'll set that aside for a minute. So, and I think what you said is great. You got to have people in your life that are pouring into you, cheerleading for you, because if we go through life and we do it all ourselves, we're going to really struggle with that, because most of us, and I know in my own self, I guess, reflection, I'm my worst critic, right? If I screw up, darn it, I'm going to beat myself up for a long time on that. And you need somebody to kind of help lift you up out of that and help you understand that it's okay, right?
Also, imposter syndrome is real. It's probably a week doesn't go by that I'm like, how am I the one that's qualified to make these decisions? And how am I the one that it's in my hands to lead this organization and these people? And how have they put so much belief in me? Because I'm not sure I'm qualified, and I have to remind myself that I'm here for a reason.
That's
and
right.
And a lot of it does come back to conviction. It's that I really believe in the cause of what we're doing. And if you don't believe in that cause, it's really hard to get out and be the cheerleader for it.
Yeah.
And, I applied for the job at Lifeline Pilots because I firmly believe that medical care in this country is inequitable.
Yep.
And I want to be able to do something to influence that.
Yeah.
I can't do much. I can't make too many big changes to our system, but I can play one small part in providing that transportation to help people have equitable access to healthcare.
As you were describing, I was thinking of the story of the person on the beach throwing the starfishes back in the ocean. Have you ever heard that story? The guy's walking down the beach. He's picking up starfish after starfish, throwing them back in the water. And somebody stopped and say, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that?" He's like, "Because trying to save the life of the starfish, putting it back in the water." And you look down the beach and there's millions of them on the beach, right? And he's like, "Well, you're not possibly going to be able to save that." And his answer was, "Well, I did it for that one." Right? I was able to do it for that one. And that makes a difference. And I think that's a great analogy for what you were describing. Analogy. You are making a difference where you can make a difference. And I wouldn't, let me be your encourager right now, right? And help build up your self-belief. I wouldn't undersell the impact that you're having in that organization, because you're making a big difference for thousands of people annually.
But like you said, even that one family, even if it was only Jackson's family that we were able to impact, just the fact that we were able to do that was huge.
Yeah. And you're not just impacting Jackson's life, right? You're impacting the entire family, the entire community who's rallied around that young boy. I'm sure there's a big support system there. So it's a big deal. And let's make this point really, really clear. Self-belief oftentimes, I think, gets confused as arrogance. And there's a big difference, right? We're not talking about being arrogant, being bold, because arrogance is really a rude characteristic, I think. And that's not what we're talking about here. You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in the work that you're doing if you want others to follow you, because people will see through that. And in the line of work that we do, which is charitably focused, where we're trying to meet needs of people who, in a lot of ways, that are less fortunate and don't have necessarily the resources to pay for access to different services, we got to believe in that. And if we're going to ask somebody to come alongside of us and write a check or to give some type of a contribution, whether it's in their time or their resources, they need to know that we believe in it. It's extremely important for us to be able to articulate that.
Yeah, they always talk about in fundraising that when you raise money, you have to give to a cause before you ask others to follow you. And it's that type of thing that, you have to have the belief, and you have to have the commitment to that organization and to that cause before you ask others to come alongside you and follow.
Yeah, that's right. That's critically important. All right. So once you've got the self-belief figured out, then we're going to work on our confidence, right? And it's, when I was thinking about preparing for this podcast, and I read Kim's article, did a little research online, and I originally was thinking that self-belief is confidence, but it's not. It's a little bit different. I think it's a little bit bolder, right? The confidence part is bold. And I think confidence is something that you earn, right? It's something that I picked up out of the article. Nobody is going to give it to you, right? You have to earn the confidence. And in order to do that, you got to put in the work, right? You don't become, I didn't become confident in my work at the Y until I did the work, right? I can't go talk to somebody about supporting a specific program or a strategy or an initiative that we're doing unless I know what it is that I'm talking about, right? I got to be able to articulate that. And as I do that and prepare myself, I'm confident in that. My kids make fun of me all the time because I do this stuff, or if I go on a news story and able to talk about the why, or if I stand up and speak, like at the soiree that's coming up in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be speaking in front of a couple hundred people. Like, how do you do that? It doesn't bother me because I believe in what I'm saying.
So I think that's a really good point, because one does build on the other. You have to have that self-belief to have the confidence, and then the confidence can build on each other. My daughter, she's 12, and she's a dancer, and she loves to do tumbling. She's really good at it.
I've seen lots of videos of her.
She's amazing. I've never been able to dance. It's not me. I can't tumble. She makes fun of my cartwheels, but she is really good at it. But where she has the ability, but she doesn't have the confidence. And it's because she doesn't believe in herself. Right. And I tell her, you need to have this mantra in your head. I can do it. I can do this. Whatever the move is, and the moves are so complicated, I don't even know the names. But when she goes to do it, when she has confidence, she lands it. And watching her, I know before she even takes off if she's going to land that move, because I see it in her face if she is believing in herself or not. And you do, when you get up to speak in front of large groups of people, or you do a podcast like this, you have to have self-belief that you know the information to deliver to others. Right. And whenever you're leading a group, you have to believe in not just the mission of the organization, but in yourself to be the one to deliver that message.
So for me, it comes down to preparation. If you prepare, in your daughter's example, she's practiced probably hundreds of times, multiple hours at doing those skills. And I would guess for her, the more she does that, the better she gets at it, because she gets a little more confident with what it is that she's doing. And it's the same thing in our line, any line of work, right? Or anything that you're doing. The more you do it, the better you feel about it. That's how you develop confidence. You can't just wake up in the morning and decide that I'm going to be great at this today. Right? Because it doesn't work that way for most people.
It's like you said, when you started your job, you didn't feel confident. Any job you start, I mean, like Andy said, I've been at this job for 5 years now, and starting a new job is not fun, because you're the fish out of water. You're the one that doesn't know the organization. You don't know the nuances. You don't know the culture. Right. And when you start somewhere new, you have to build that confidence. You have to build your self-belief, which then leads to your confidence in it.
No, I think you're absolutely right. But I would say also to that point is if you create a culture within yourself of being a hard worker and developing confidence in multiple ways, right? Different things that you can do, then going into that role, right? You may have had some doubt going into the role with Lifeline Pilots, but you knew you were going to be able to do it because that's how you lived your life, right? It wasn't the first time you tried something new.
I didn't know if I'd be successful.
No.
I was pretty scared I wouldn't be.
Yeah, but you have been successful, though, because you had a track record of success in your career, and you had some confidence within you going into that. Sure, it's a blank slate. You're learning new things all the time. Even in my work at the Y now, there's days where I don't feel like I'm adequate for the decisions that I need to make or the things that we're discussing, whether it be with my board or people in the community. But I know I got to spend some time preparing myself for that in order to have success. So I think that's really, really important. And the other point I think that's important to make around this piece of the conversation is when we operate that way and we work hard and we project confidence, that's when people want to be a part of it. Bring others alongside of, when you tell the story about Jackson, right? not only is it a great story, but the way you tell it is a great way to tell it. And you drew me in to that conversation because you knew of the impact that it had on him. And you've worked on that, I'm sure, and that's important. And you got to draw people into what it is you want to do if you want to be successful. And I think that that's really important.
Yeah, and people want to. They're attracted to success.
Sure they are.
And so you're experiencing that at the Y. The Y is growing exponentially at the moment. Your programs. You have so many kids involved, and so many members between the Y and now with the partnership with the Riverplex. And it's the same with Lifeline Pilots. When I started 5 years ago, they were doing 140 flights a year.
Yeah.
So
and you're 1,000?
Now we're at almost 1,000.
Amazing.
But it took time to grow that. But as that's grown, so has our budget.
Sure.
We had 2 full-time employees. I was one of them when I started, and now we have 5.
Yeah.
And we're going to need to be adding more in the next few years. So our budget has grown. But thankfully, because we're doing the great work, so have our donors.
Yeah, because you got more stories to tell.
Yeah,
right?
and people see what we're doing, and they say, this is amazing work, and they're doing even more. Every time we look at them, they're doing more. And so they want to support it, and they want to help us impact lives.
That's great. That's great. Kudos to you. All right, so let's talk about using conviction as a convincing force, right? Conviction provides unstoppable energy and enthusiasm. And I think that's really important too. When conviction is, I'll describe it as a strong belief, right? A strong belief that what I'm doing is making a difference, right? I see that in you when you talk about Lifeline Pilots. Hopefully people see that in me when we talk about the work at the YMCA. But that energy and enthusiasm is what attracts people to what it is that you're trying to do. And people need to see that in us. When we're pushing for whatever goal it may be in our life.
Yeah, and I think setting a vision for yourself, setting a vision for your organization, that's a really big part of it. So we went through that a couple of years ago with Lifeline Pilots, and we set our vision. And our vision is a world where every person has equal access to transportation for healthcare and humanitarian needs.
That's huge. A world, you said.
Yeah. A world where everyone does. And
not a region. You said a world.
No, and we debated that word.
I'll bet.
And we talked about it for a long time, and I pushed the board to have a big vision because it's so important that we have something to reach for. Yeah. Are we ever going to attain it? I certainly hope so.
Right.
You
won't if you don't set out for it.
My goal is that every person who needs our help knows we exist. Yeah. That's the goal.
Yeah,
whether or not they use us is another thing, but I want them to know that we're here.
Right. But you specifically are assigned, I guess, assigned might not be the right word, but your geographic region is 10 states. Yeah. Right. So you've got limited direct influence over the world through that piece, but you set a pretty awesome example of how great the work can be and inspire others to create that change across the globe. So it can grow, and it doesn't have to grow directly because of what Lifeline Pilots is doing.
But we want to set the example.
Right.
That
it's
others
that indirect
will follow.
Influence.
And by setting a vision for the organization, we're able to do that. And I think personally, we can do that too. I'm not very good at setting those types of goals personally. But I think people who do, they have something to really reach for. And then, that conviction of whatever that vision is what they can aim for.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And let's make no bones about it. In order to have a strong conviction, again, you got to develop knowledge, right? And you got to put in the work, right? And the more you know, the more you believe, the stronger your belief becomes, the more you draw people into that energy and they can see that conviction. And conviction is a positive thing. Although Google doesn't like it because when I was using the word conviction, I kept getting all this stuff about being convicted criminally. Right? And it took me forever to work myself around.
And oftentimes it is a negative word.
I think it is.
It's used so negatively, but we need to take it back.
Passion. It's passion. Yeah. It's a strong belief. It's a passion. It's like what I'm doing has value, and you need to know what it is, because I think there's an opportunity for you to support it. And that's an important thing. All right, so we're going to wrap it up here, but it's the ripple effect, right? Knowing what you're doing, and that's kind of what we just talked about a little bit in your big world, bold vision, is in order for that to come true, you got to create that ripple effect, right? By setting the example for others to see and others to follow. And I think that that's a pretty important thing for all of us to think about.
I talked to our volunteers, and especially the board of directors for Lifeline Pilots, about amplifying our message. You know, taking whatever it is that I'm putting out there and that my staff are putting out there, and helping us to amplify it, because we can't do it on our own.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that ripple effect. You know, if you have a megaphone and you're yelling into it, you can reach so many more people than if you're just sitting here and I'm whispering to you. And, you know, but you're going to barely hear it. Whereas if you have that megaphone, it's going to go so much further, and we can amplify whatever that message is that we want to get out into the world.
Right.
And then hopefully the next person who hears it will share it with the next person. And, and honestly, that's been a big part of Lifeline Pilots' success over the last 5 years, because we've been telling people our mission, but then we've been asking them to share it. And I ask everyone listening today, like us on social media, share our message, because you never know who in your network might need our help.
That's right.
And that's what I tell every person.
Could be you, could be me, could be even you, right? You never know.
It could be. And, you know, and thankfully I know this service exists, and so do you, but not everybody does. And so that's my goal in sharing our message, is that you're going to go and tell 10 more people, and those 10 people will tell 10 more people, and we will have that ripple effect of people knowing that an awesome service like this exists.
Yeah, making people aware, creating inspiration by telling your story, amplifying it so that it creates broader change. And no, you don't directly have influence over that, but the indirect impact of the work that you're doing, or that I'm doing at the Y, or whoever is out there listening, and what you're doing, that inspiration is important, right? And self-belief, having confidence, and personal conviction for what it is that you're doing are extremely invaluable to help broadcast your vision to the larger community and create more support, right? Which is going to give you the energy that you need to have impact. This has been great discussion.
It really has. It's always nice to talk to you, Andy.
Yeah, and it always goes in a different way than I think it's going to, and I think that's a great thing. And it's always great to talk to you too. We need to do this more often. So tell us about this big event that's going on that you're doing with the
Women in Leadership.
Yeah, Women in Leadership.
Yeah, we have the Pathways to Success conference coming up in September. And it is a great day. We have a keynote speaker who's coming in, and then we have local breakout speakers. And I always tell everyone it is my favorite day of the year, because it is an event put on entirely by volunteers through Women in Leadership and NABO, which are two women-focused organizations.
What's NABO stand for?
National Association of Women Business Owners. Pulled that one out of the back of my head.
NAWBO.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And so the two organizations work together to put this on. I used to actually be the co-chair of this organization many years ago, and it's always held a special place in my heart. But you arrive on the day, and we have vendors there. I believe the Y is going to be there as a vendor.
Should be.
And we have learning opportunities, we have networking, professional development, and it is a fantastic day. So you can check it out at Pathways to Success on social media, or you can go to Women in Leadership. Just Google Women in Leadership for the website, and you can buy your tickets.
Is it at the Paradise?
It will be at the Paradise.
Yeah. That's awesome. What's the date again?
September 20th.
20th of September.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It's on a Friday, which is the best way to end your week.
Sure it is.
And it's just, you walk away just feeling like you've met the most amazing women, and you've had a great day of professional development.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm going to share a little bit about our big event at the Y, right? The summer soiree, which you know a little bit about because you started it.
I started the event and I will be there.
Right.
I'm still on the committee.
That's right.
I help out where I can.
Yeah, it's come a long way from the ham and cheese platter, right?
It has. And, the Y still holds a very special place in my heart.
Well,
so I'm very happy to be able to support it.
Big event, Saturday, September 14th at the Y on the pool deck. Weather permitting, I'm knocking on wood. We've only had 1 year where we couldn't do it on the pool deck. Excited. We've changed the event a little bit this year. We've spiced it up. We have an improv group coming, and they're going to do a performance for us for about an hour on the pool deck. It's called it's called GIT Improv. Used to be known as Guys in Ties. They're coming from the Quad Cities. Great group. I've seen them perform before. They're going to do a great job. So it's a fun event. It's a social event on the pool deck. We provide food, but it's a fundraiser, right? It's our big event for the Y.
Golf into the pool.
Yeah, you could hit golf balls into the pool, and if you stay long enough, I'll be jumping in the pool at the end of the night to get those lights out of there that Lindsey insisted on a few years ago. So anyway,
they're pretty fun.
If you want to learn more about the Y, look us up on the Peoria YMCA website. We have an event page. All the information's there. It's not too late to get tickets. This is going to be our biggest one. We're expecting more than 250 people at this event. It'll be our biggest one by far. So really excited for that. So check it out.
Andy and I will be there.
Yeah, and Lindsey and I will be there. We'll take a picture with you if you'd like, and we'll autograph it too. So, all right, let's wrap this thing up. Lindsey, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate it very much. Hope to have you back on soon, and thank you all for being here on our community.